It's drilled to left field. Is it high enough? See ya! A walk-off grand slam, and the Yankees win.
And he drives one to right field over toward the line. Long run for Laureano, and he runs it, and the Mets win the ball game.
Episode 44 of The Burrows. Kevin Bunk, Michael Merlo coming to you this Thursday morning for BTO Media. Every week, talking Mets, Yankees, everything else around the league. And Mike, we started this week with a couple pieces of news. First, it was Aaron Judge, Team USA captain. That's cool. I don't know if we're really going to touch on it too much today because we're a few days past, but cool one for Yankee fans to get into the World Baseball Classic. Nice to see him finally participate on the world stage. But we also got Juan Soto's comments 3 days ago about not playing with Judge now and seeing different pitches. And he was basically asked, I think, about just a slower start. I don't know exactly what the question was, but he was asked basically about his slower start this year. And he said, it's definitely different. I had the best hitter in baseball hitting behind me. I was getting more attacked and more pitches in the strike zone, less intentional walks and things like that. I was pitched differently last year, which is statistically true that so far this year he's not seeing much in the zone. But what'd you think of these comments?
Yeah, like, I understand what he's trying to say. He's answering the question from Mike Puma, who is the Mets beat reporter for the New York Post. He asked him how basically what he's seeing in terms of how these pitchers are now pitching him. And he's not wrong. Like, what he's saying is the truth, but we don't want to hear it. You're paid $765 million to be the guy that judges. It's never mattered who is protecting Aaron Judge, who's hitting in front of him, who's hitting behind him. It's never mattered for Aaron Judge, and it doesn't right now. And to just hear this after you're paid this amount of money, you're off to a tough start for your standards, not for anybody else, but for his standards, it's a tough start. Met fans don't want to hear you longing for your ex-girlfriend. We don't need this.
That's my problem with it, is I just think you sign a 15-year contract, you shouldn't bring up a positive about the Yankees at all, because it's not as if I wouldn't do this anyways, but it's not as if you signed with the Cubs after playing with the Mariners. You know, it's not like that. You have to understand the landscape and realistically, the little brother complex that Mets fans have had forced upon them for their entire existence, and now trying to break through and be the better team. And you sign this guy who feels like every couple of weeks, and 99.9% of it is because the media keeps pushing the narrative, but it feels like every couple of weeks the Yankees have to get brought up in a Juan Soto interview, or he brings them up somehow. And this was the most egregious example from Soto. Not that it was necessarily actually egregious, but the most prominent example. And I didn't like it. I just don't think that you should sign a 15-year contract and then start talking about Aaron Judge.
And again, like, he's not wrong. We understand this, but and I said this in a clip the other day, like, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to realize that this was going to happen. He had to have known this was going to happen. And by the way, the guy hitting behind him right now, he can't be any better. I thought it was a shot, and you thought the same thing. We both thought it was a shot at Pete Alonso, an unnecessary shot at Pete Alonso, who has never had a better stretch in his 6-year career.
And it definitely wasn't intentional, but there was an undertone of negative sentiment towards Alonso, who right now is hitting .365, .474 on base percentage, got a 1,200 OPS, 5 home runs, 21 RBIs. Season ends today. He's probably your NL MVP. I know we're only, 18 games in, 19 games in, but that's how great he's been. So I just think that for Soto to say that, it just didn't have to be said, and I also didn't like that he had an excuse, right? Like he kind of had an excuse for why he's not performing too well right now, why he's not performing to his standards. And he should have just said, I'm getting tough pitches. I got to start hitting better, and give you the regular PR answer. That's what it is. You said you're here for the next 15 years of your career, man. You do not want to get off on the wrong foot at any point in the beginning of that contract.
And it's nothing new for him. I mean, in Washington, he was the best hitter in the lineup. In San Diego, he was the best hitter in the lineup by a pretty decent margin. So he was pitched like this. I mean, this lineup isn't any better or worse than some of the great lineups he played in prior to being with the Yankees. So he has been pitched like this where they're super careful with him and they give him some intentional walks and they give him basically nothing to hit. I mean, there was this interesting stat that I have to find right now from Will Salmon of The Athletic talking about with guys on base, these pitchers, he has seen the lowest percentage of pitches in the strike zone with guys on base than anybody in the league. I mean, they are being super careful with him. There's a reason for that. It's because he's so great. Now, when you get your pitches, he's gotten them, especially on Wednesday, by the way, where he went 0 for 5 and grounded into a freaking double play with the bases loaded. He's getting them. So when you get them, you got to take advantage.
Yeah, bad game for Soto yesterday, but this all lends itself to a conversation that I had with you last week on probably Monday or Tuesday it was, where I'd said, I don't know if Soto ever is the 40 home run hitter he was with the Yankees last year. I don't know if he's ever going to be able to put up those numbers. And it wasn't because I thought Soto was going to be worse with the Mets than he was with the Yankees, but just because, one, you probably lose 3 or 4 based on playing at Citi Field versus Yankee Stadium as a left-handed hitter. Probably lose 3 or 4 there. But mostly, you're not going to get the pitches that you saw last season because you are the guy now. And you signed up to be the guy. So you have to act like the guy with the media too and not make comments. I know it's tricky. I know we dissect everything so closely, but you can't make comments now that you're in this situation that you put yourself in, not only with your play, but with the contract and the entire situation. You can't make comments that could reflect poorly on teammates or on your organization or lift up the organization that your fan base hates the most. And he did all of those things with one. You don't see, and again, like, I hate to do comparisons here. I like Soto a lot. I think he's great for the Mets. He will be great for the Mets. I think he likes being there. But you don't see Judge making those comments. He's very careful with his postgame. He's very bland with his postgame because that's how you have to be now in that role. You are the face of the organization because of that contract you signed. Whether Mets fans think of you first or not, you're the face of that team. And you just have to be a little more careful.
Yeah, he does 100%. And, you look at the comments. I mean, they ask Judge the question and he gives a perfect response. So Alonso is, what is he, have the best stats in the National League right now? I mean, he gave the response Soto should have given to that question. Hey, yeah, I'm being pitched differently than I was last season, but look at what it's doing for Pete Alonso. He's having a fantastic year. Bang, done. I'll get my pitches. The weather will get nicer, and I'll start to hit like I normally do. That's it. That's the easy answer to this question. And he gave a very honest answer. And there are times where I think people in the media love when these players are brutally honest. He was brutally honest, but his brutal honesty sounded like an excuse, and it sounded like he missed his ex-girlfriend. And that's the problem and the insecurities the Met fan has right now.
Yeah, so let's take a quick look now just at the Mets games. I think that's enough on the Soto stuff. But the Mets lose the series to the Twins, win the series against the A's, and they go 3-3 on this road trip. How lame, first of all, is playing in Sacramento?
It was bad. It was bad. I mean, it's such a small ballpark too. Like, the walls are short, and if you get anything in the air, it honestly has a chance to right field and left field. It's scary.
And when you think about how warm and dry it's going to be there this summer, that ball's just going to carry. There's going to be a lot of home runs hit there.
Soderstrom might actually lead the league in home runs. He might.
He really might. Because first of all, he looks like he's great. That's the first part of it. And second, that ballpark is going to be the most hitter-friendly park in the league, along with Tampa Bay, because you're just going to have so many warm nights at those minor league parks with those small dimensions. I'm excited to see the Yankees play at Steinbrenner Field this week in major league games. I think that's fascinating, but we'll talk about that later. Your takeaways from these 3 games. I thought that yesterday's loss was particularly frustrating. It could have changed the tone altogether of this entire conversation. It was a real drastic tone change of whether or not they pulled that game out and went 4-2 and won both series. And then the way Soto played, you already mentioned it, but 0 for 5. And they lose 4-3 in extras. But overall, where are you with those 6 games?
Yeah, I mean, the games in Sacramento are what they are. They won the series. You get out of there and you feel okay. They did not play well in Minnesota. They did not play well yesterday for about 7 innings. 7 innings of that game was incredibly frustrating. They were not good in the field. I mean, Lindor cost them a game on Tuesday with a bad error at short. And then yesterday, it was awful. And then they had the missed call at first base where they didn't have a challenge. Buto runs to the base. He ended up getting him by a step. I don't know how the first base umpire, who ended up getting drilled in the head with a foul ball, so sorry to hear that. I don't know how he missed that call, though. And it cost them a run because Buto doesn't turn around and throw the ball home. Very, very frustrating. They end up tying the game, and they lose to Harrison Bader, basically, because he just killed them in the 2 games that he played in.
Yeah, Bader, a little revenge game for him. Nobody had that on the bingo card.
I could have guessed that. I could have guessed.
Okay, well,
going into the series, that Bader would have a big one.
No non-Mets fans on the bingo card. Was not on my radar. Absolutely ended up happening. And I think the Mets, we're at the point in the season, I was going to say, at least for me with the Yankees, where I'm definitely this way with the Mets all the time because I'm not a fan of them. But now that we're almost at 20 games, I no longer am getting too excited or too depressed with individual games or series. Mm-hmm. Like that was a last week thing. This week, I'm much more mature. I've grown up in this season.
Yeah.
And like the sweep against the Royals is not getting me totally jacked where it would have last week, as equally the loss to a Diamondbacks in a series will not completely depress me and make me think the season's ending. Maybe that's just me, but I think we're at that point. And with the Mets, you just have to look at the whole product so far. You're 11-7 or 12-7, 11-7, and they haven't had Soto or Lindor where they need them to be yet.
How about this, Kevin?
That's encouraging. Yeah.
Going into the game yesterday, the Alonso and Soto had a combined OPS of a little bit over 1,000. Okay. And the rest of the team had an OPS combined under 600. That's where they're at right now. They're getting nothing from anybody besides a little bit of Soto and all of Pete Alonso. That's where they're at.
Their third best hitter so far this season, you really could argue firmly it's been Torrens.
Yeah, it has been. 100%.
So that's a huge problem. We're going to talk about Nimmo and Vientos we spoke about last week. The conversation's kind of still the same. But with Nimmo, he's played every game. He's hitting 203. He's got an on-base of 260. That's what really concerns me is are these guys getting on base? What's their OPS looking like early in the season? And Soto is an example of this. He's hitting 231. You need that average to be higher. You absolutely do. But he's getting on base at his regular rate, a little lower than his regular rate, but still 370 around. And he's got an OPS right under 800 right now. So if that's his low point, you're not that worried. Yeah, that's his concern. Is one of the best players in the league still.
When he slumps, he gets on base. I think that's the most encouraging part. He still gets on base. Kevin, I have serious concerns about Nimmo. I mean, let's go back to the second half of last season, okay? The second half of last season, Brandon Nimmo had 7 homers, 27 RBIs. He hit 190, and his OPS was 596. Now you go to this season, you just read his stats. His OPS is, I think, in the 680s. He is a serious concern for me right now. Is he hurt? Was he hurt last season? We know he dealt with the plantar fasciitis late in the postseason. Is he hurt now? What's going on? There's 5 more years left of this contract. What is happening to Brandon Nimmo? You can't hit him 4th. You can't hit him 5th. They got to start moving him down. But who are you going to move up? Nobody else deserves to move up. I'm very concerned about this. Very concerned.
Nimmo's the real concern with this team because he's a guy that you had, as a player on this team, as a producer on this team. You don't build this team. And I will say Nimmo's turning into one of the worst contracts in baseball right now if he keeps this up. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah. You can watch worst contracts in Major League Baseball episode came out last Thursday. You can watch it. But if Nimmo is a hole in this lineup, he's not a guy you can replace at the deadline. It's not – he's playing. Yeah. That's the story with Nimmo. So that's where I get really worried about the Mets having him because you are in a year where you're trying to win the World Series. Whether you think that they're in an all-in year or not, I don't see it any other way after you sign an $800 million MVP candidate. But Nimmo needs to be better. And I don't know if he's going to be. We saw signs of regression last year. We've praised him at so many different points, but it's getting hard to defend his play now where he's an average defender and he's right now one of the worst hitters in all of Major League Baseball. That's a huge problem. And if him and Vientos don't get going, the Mets are in a little bit of trouble.
Yes, and I think, like, gun to my head, I think Vientos will get going. I mean, like, you look at the advanced numbers, the way he's hitting the ball, he's unlucky, he's this and that. I'm running out of patience at this point with that. Oh, the exit velo's high. Oh, the ball's just not dropping. Like, I'm running out of patience. He hasn't hit a home run yet. So I really am starting to run out of patience, but I understand that, and I think eventually he will get going. But you're 100% correct. They need one of these guys to be able to hit right behind Pete Alonso and produce.
Yeah, I'm worried about them. And Vientos it just can't be this bad. That's why I know that he'll have some sort of a turnaround, but how good will it be? You are building this team, banking on Nimmo being the Brandon Nimmo we all know that can produce in the middle of an order. That's one of the best middle of the order hitters in baseball. Yeah. And Mark Vientos, who was supposed to be a budding star. That's the one I'm confident that David Stearns was not thinking anything else about. Mark Vientos will be one of the best producers in Major League Baseball because he was last year in what was essentially his rookie season, first year of actual run for Vientos, and you thought you had a DH for the foreseeable future, and right now that's in a lot of question. He's hitting 145.
I know, it's terrible. It's incredibly frustrating. I don't know. I think there was some concern with Vientos coming into the year. I mean, apparently
there was, because I was arguing with people all offseason that he wasn't going to be a regression guy. So apparently there was, and I missed it.
Right, and I missed it too. I thought the way he produced in the postseason under pressure would be enough for him to come into this year and just be completely locked in. I'm not saying he's not locked in, but it hasn't been good. The results are not there.
Yep. No, I'm worried about Vientos a lot because not even because it's going to hurt the Mets. I don't even care about that because I've really stood on the soapbox this offseason for Mark Vientos, and I'm looking like an idiot right now. He's making me look like an absolute idiot.
That is true. You were a big fan. You were a big fan of Mark. They got to get McNeil back. Torrens has been great. They'll get Alvarez back, and they'll have one of the better duos in the league there. As long as Torrens starts to hit and Alvarez hits, they'll be fine. I think offensively, they'll get going. Hopefully, Vientos gets going. I'm nervous.
Yeah, and I get why you would be, but Alonso luckily has been the best hitter in the National League, so that's come through big for them in this division race right now. Are you confident that the Mets can still be the top team? I mean, record-wise, there's no reason to think that they can't be. What are they right now in first place? They're a game better than the Phillies, right?
They're a game better than the Phillies.
So do you think that they are? Because I'll have this discussion in a little bit, but I'm looking at the Yankees saying they're definitely the best team in the American League East. And it's a different situation for sure with the two teams. But with the Mets, do you actually feel that way as they sit in first place?
Yes, as of now, yes, I do. I think the Phillies have some concerns. I think obviously Atlanta, with the way they've played, there's a lot of concerns there. So right now, I would say yes. It's not as confident, I think, as you would say yes with the Yankees, but I feel pretty good about that. I think the pitching has been good. They're missing a lot of guys, Kevin. I mean, again, they're missing McNeil, Alvarez, Nunez in the bullpen. They're missing Minaya. They're missing Montas, guys who were supposed to slot in and be, Minaya, a 1 or 2 starter for them, and Montas, a back end guy. They're going to get these guys back at some point. So I would say yes. I feel good about the Mets being the best team in the National League East.
Yeah, and as you should. I think that the Mets are definitely better than the Phillies. I was down on the Phillies going into the season.
Yeah.
And I think I'm a little wrong on that, all things considered.
Are you wrong on the Braves? Are you willing to admit you're wrong on the Braves?
Dude, obviously.
Struck out 19 times in Toronto yesterday.
Well, you expect all these guys to bounce back. Well, at least me, I expect all these guys to have bounce back years after down years last year, and they're not.
I know.
Matt Olson, I thought was going to be just a great player again, and he's not.
I know, and Riley is having a nice season here. Albies has been pretty good, but and I can't believe Ozuna again. He's hitting over 300.
Yeah,
but they missed Murphy. Kevin, I thought there were concerns with Sale coming into this year, there was no way Sale was going to be able to repeat what he did last season.
No,
Whether it was health or just pure performance, if he was healthy. I didn't think he was going to do it again. You have Strider back. He comes back yesterday, and that's going to be a big boost. And they'll get Acuna back at some point, but is it too late? Will it be too late when Ronald comes back?
And maybe I'm overreacting, but I think 6 games back in the NL East at any point in the season, you're bagged.
I don't think so.
I think they're bagged for the division.
Kevin, I've seen this team go on a run from June on that I've never seen before. I mean, even better than the run that the Mets went on last season in 2022. So anything's possible in this division with that team and their devil magic that they somehow always seem to conjure up there. I'll never count them out. Never.
Well, for them to do it, they would have to. The only path to doing it is obviously play well in all of your series anyways, but you have to dominate the Mets and Phillies this year. You have to absolutely kill them when you play them and win almost every game that you play against them to make up that ground. 6 games is a lot against 2 good teams.
And I don't know when they play Philly, but they already played Philly. They won a series against Philly. Mm-hmm. They don't play the Mets until June. That's the first series they play against the Mets is June. So,
and I mean, look at these numbers. You've guys that have played every game. Matt Olson, Michael Harris, Ozzie Albies, all of them have OPSs under 800. Olson's OPS is 682. Harris's OPS is 500. I mean, he's getting on base 208.
He was my dark horse MVP pick there.
He's slugging 299. I mean,
oh my God.
That's what he gets for being it's not even his fault. You picked him for the dark horse MVP and ruined him.
I missed it too because I should have went with Carroll. Let's between him and Carroll.
Matt Olson's on base percentage is 6 points lower than his slugging. How is your slug that close to your on base? Like, do you ever hit doubles?
I guess not. He has 3 on the year.
Oh my God. And he led the league in doubles 2 years ago. That was the greatest thing about him, was like he's the best extra base hitter in the league when they first
The other problem is, I mean, Nick Allen's played 11 games. You have Brian De La Cruz in there starting every game. Jared Kelenick's done nothing. He's starting every game. He's hitting 146. So, and that's
Orlando Arcia stinks too.
And they had what's his face hurt to start the year? Murphy, who's come back and hit a couple bombs,
and I mean losing Profar obviously
put
a wrench in their plans this season.
Has
Verdugo played yet? No, right?
They signed Verdugo?
Yeah, he's on a AAA minor league deal.
No, he didn't play. He hasn't played yet.
He will eventually.
Well, yeah, with that team, with Jared Kelenick hitting 146, I would hope so.
Yeah.
I would hope Verdugo could get up there.
Yeah, it's bad times, and because when you're a fan of a team in this situation, it just sucks because you're waiting for that run, right? Like, when is that run going to happen? And it just maybe never comes.
I'm just sitting there laughing. I love it. I love
good
this.
For you.
I love this. This is a win.
But yeah, they don't give me any confidence right now, especially the starting pitching staff's not good.
No.
With Sale, the way that he's pitching. And I thought Sale, I still think he will end up the way I thought he was. I think he's going to be around a 49. That's what I always thought about Sale.
They didn't add, though, Kevin. They didn't add anybody but Profar.
So honestly,
that's on you.
It was just faith. For me, it was just faith in the organization. Like, I just trust them to win games. And every organization that does this is always due at some point for the down year, and I just feel now that it's going to be. And we're looking at the National League. I was wrong on a lot. Like, I feel really wrong on the Cubs so far.
Yep.
I feel really wrong about San Francisco.
Don't say that yet. Don't say that.
No. But I still think they're the fourth. I still think they're the 4th best team in that division. But I thought they were going to win 70 games.
Oh, okay.
And because I had said easy under for me in the prediction show. And right now, I think the over-under was 76.5 on them or 78.5. They're going to go over that number.
Yeah, but it might not.
Right there.
It might not be by much, though. Like, we're not there yet.
And then the NL Central, like, am I allowed to say it's fairly competitive compared to what I thought it was going to be? Obviously, it was always going to be close and competitive in that nature, but I actually think a couple of the teams are pretty solid here, whereas the AL Central is just a disaster.
I think the Cubs at this point have, with Tucker being probably the best player in the division, I think, other than Skeens, of course, I think they are just the top dog, and like Milwaukee, no matter what they do, they're not going to have enough. And I don't think St. Louis is real. You think St. Louis is real? Is this what we're trying to get at?
No, I don't. I think Cincinnati and Milwaukee are real. I think they're closer to the Cubs than they're getting credit for right now. Milwaukee, you take out the 3-game disaster at Yankee Stadium to start the year, which happened. I mean, you can't take it away, but you take that out where the pitching was such a mess. I mean, they're 10-6 without that. So since their opening series on the road, they're
playoff
10-6.
team football.
It's playoff team football.
Playoff team football. Your Reds, though. Your Reds look good. That I'm
they
a little
can
shocked
pitch.
by that.
They can pitch. Hunter Green looks awesome, but they can pitch. They can field. They have some trouble hitting the ball. They're having some issues with that. But I mean, I'm pretty confident in the Reds. They got a manager that's going to push the right buttons for them. I think getting Singer was a great trade for them. India for Singer, a lot of people praise the Royals for that, and I thought it was a rare win-win where I thought both teams made out pretty well.
Yeah.
But right now, India's not hitting. And Singer is pitching well to start the year. He's 3-0. He's got a 3 ERA. I like
really
Singer a lot.
Really solid last season, too. I mean, they traded a guy that, pitched 180 innings for them, Kansas City.
Well, it was a little bit of a weird trade. We don't see trades like that very often, where a team trades a really solid position player for a really solid pitcher. I mean, that's a weird 1-for-1.
It was, and India was a name a couple of years ago, and he's obviously still a name, but I don't think as valuable as a number 3 starter, right? That's what Singer is. A solid 3 starter.
Really good pitcher to give up for India. I wonder who initiated that trade call. Like, that had to have been Kansas City calling him up saying, we'll give you a Singer for India, because there's no way the Reds even would have asked for that.
Right, and they're sitting there like, sure?
Yeah, like, definitely.
Want us to drive to you? We'll drive him there. We'll pick Singer up.
Not to get totally off track. We'll get to the Yankees in a second, but
yeah,
let's look through Jonathan India's last few seasons.
Let's get off track. Come on,
let's get off track. That's what we do here. India's last few years. Oh, I'm just gonna look at his OPS. 750 OPS last year, 746 year before, 705 the year before. Really, since his rookie year in 21, he blew up as a rookie in 21. They had that great winning streak with him. He was a huge part of that.
Right.
21 homers in 150 games, 69 ribbies, OPS 835. He was the next budding star at second base, and then it kind of tailed off after that. He never reached the home run total. He never reached 20 home runs again. He never reached 61 RBIs was his next highest in 2023, and his OPS never hit 800 again. So he turned into a very average second baseman, and I thought that Kansas City needed a bat, but it just isn't working out yet through 18 games, and it's working out really well for the Reds.
I don't hate the idea of them trying to say, hey, we need to produce more offense. I mean, you watched them for 3 games. I mean, Jesus Christ,
terrible.
More offense.
Terrible.
I don't hate that part. It's maybe just the player they went after. Yep. How about, I told you what Gary Cohen said last night. Gary Cohen was just talking crap the other day on the Royals.
And when I look at Kansas City, if you wanted a second baseman that bad and you get India, fine. But you could have signed Gleyber Torres and kept Singer. You could have. As much as I don't love Gleyber, there were ways to do this and keep Singer, or you should have been able to give Singer up for a better player.
Sign Gleyber. That's everybody's duct tape there. Gleyber's the duct tape for the AL Central. That's what he is.
He's just going to get passed around like a Band-Aid for the next
he
5-6 years.
The AL Central is so bad that adding Gleyber Torres to play second base is like adding Juan Soto if you're the Mets or the Yankees. That's what
crazy.
It's like.
It's crazy how we change the context based on the divisions in this league. It's like the Yankees add Bellinger and Goldschmidt, and you're like, God, just didn't do enough after losing Soto. Like they enough on offense. Their offense stinks. Meanwhile, they have the best hitter in the league. They added 2 former MVPs who still have something in the tank. I don't care what you say. And then the Tigers add Gleyber Torres, and you're like, I mean, this is
what a move.
Meanwhile, he wasn't good enough to play for the Yankees.
It's a great move. No, it is crazy. I think we're getting to the point with the league, not to take a crap on the American League, but I'm definitely going to do that. Like, I was sitting there the other day, and somebody's saying to me, like, I think it was the Yankee fan, actually. They're sitting there saying to me, like, wow, like the Mets schedule, like, it's just been light. I'm like, yeah, they've been playing a lot of American. They're playing a lot of American League teams. That's the point. That's what's going on here. They played the A's, the Astros.
Everyone's saying that. Oh, the Mets with this cupcake schedule, Mickey Mouse schedule for the Mets here to start the season. They're playing our postseason contenders.
They swept the biggest competitor in your division right now. I mean, they swept them with ease.
Right now, man, as we can kind of like mold this into Yankees talk, I'm pretty confident that the Yankees are the best team in the American League, and I have a long laundry list of issues with the Yankees that I think prevents them from actually being a title contender. We're at a point in the American League, Mike, where you could be the best team in it definitively and not be a title contender.
Yeah, like I just don't know who else I would say. Like it's kind of just Yankees by default.
And depending on how, it's a 3-team race for me for the best team based on this point in the season. It could totally change in the next few weeks. But it's the division leaders. The Yankees, the Tigers, and the Rangers are the only 3 teams right now that feel like they can make the run in the postseason and get out of it. And it's just because the Tigers have the best pitching. The Yankees have the best roster overall, even with the injuries that they have to their pitching staff. It still feels like they have the best roster. And the Rangers, that they're going to be able to hit come October. So, or you can infer that they're going to be able to hit. You feel good about it. You don't know for sure, but you feel good that they're going to be able to hit come October. So it's it's like a terrible 3 teams though.
Marcus Semien has a 190 slugging percentage. Just want to put that out there.
Yeah, he's been awful. That's my guy, too. That's my guy. That was my greatest claim in my history of media, podcasting, radio, whatever, is the Yankees offseason, what was it, 2021? They were free agents, and it was 2021, and it was right after, was it? No, it was before the lockout year, but it was 2021. It was right after COVID, so everyone was trying to make money back after the COVID year, and nobody was really spending. And I said, you want to put a contender on the field, you sign Marcus Semien, because they were looking for a middle infielder, because they only had Torres. They ended up getting, was that the IKF year, or was that?
Yes, that was IKF.
It was the IKF year. I said, yeah, you go get Semien. The Blue Jays signed him to a cheap 1-year deal. He almost won MVP. And I said, you get Kyle Schwarber. Those are the 2 guys that you sign on 1-year deals this offseason to completely, revamp your lineup. Semien almost wins MVP. Schwarber hit like 44 home runs and led the league in homers. That was my moment. That was my moment to shine, and they
stole it from you.
And they stole it from me, and they were terrible that year.
They stole it from you. How about, by the way, Jock Peterson has an 8.087 slugging percentage, 260 OPS.
Oh, yeah.
That's disgusting.
It's rough.
But even so, this team's 11-7. Those guys are starting for him. And the pitching rotation has actually been legit. Evaldi's been a 1. Tyler Mahle, he's 3-0 with a .92 ERA.
Where
lighters look good.
We're at a point, too, with the staff. I wanted to mention this, so I'm glad you brought it up because I'd forgotten to mention it in our notes. DeGrom doesn't have to be the ace. DeGrom could end up being – he doesn't look great, and he doesn't look good either. He doesn't look good at all. Since the first start, he looked good. Since then, it's been really bad. But DeGrom, if he could – this takes a lot of pressure off of him now because he's a 36-year-old pitcher, and now Evaldi can be the guy. Leiter can be the next guy up now that he's the young stud. Those could be your top 2. Mahle looks good. Mahle looks great. Yeah. And DeGrom can be the 4th guy that – imagine that staff in a postseason series. If it is the way it is right now, the way Evaldi's always pitched in the postseason, giving DeGrom the ball on the 4th day, if he could just figure out a little bit how to be a really competitive veteran pitcher, which I think he will if he stays healthy, that's a great staff. And that's the best team in the AL if it plays out that way.
That's the reason why I think I'll contradict you here. I'll go the other side. I'll say it's the Rangers right now because they do have the pitching, and the offense is going to click. They have the offensive pieces there where guys, if they're not clicking or going to it, and I mean, Seager's hitting, Josh Jung is hitting, they're going to hit. Now, the Yankees pitching rotation, they have the 28th worst starting ERA in the league.
Yeah, they have right now. The Yankees pitching rotation is in a place where I'm biased, but I think they have the best starter in the American League right now because Fried looks as good as he's ever looked through his first 4 starts here, and you're banking on a lot of getting Schmidt back. He looked solid last night, and then hoping that Rodon could be. He stinks, but you're just hoping he could have some semblance of a good third in the rotation pitcher. But the guy that you really have been hoping for all year, Luis Gil, had another setback. So now you're wondering if you're even going to see him this season. And
what do they do with Rodon? Kevin, like, is Rodon a lost cause at this point?
Here's what's crazy about Rodon, and you've mentioned it, but Aaron Boone goes into the post-game press conference. And have you seen his comments about Rodon recently?
I have not.
Really defending him, saying, it's always the same stuff with Boone. Stuff looked great. Couple pitches that hitters took advantage of, but his stuff looks great. The strikeouts are there. And the strikeouts are there. He's having his best K through 9 stretch with the Yankees. But it's so puzzling because for 90, if he throws 100 pitches, for 90 of them, he is the best pitcher in baseball. For 10 of them, it's the biggest mess. And in last week's game, he has who was it against? Who was his last start against? It was against
the Giants.
The weekend against the Giants. Yeah, against the Giants. And he has a 3-2 count, or it was 3-1, 3-2, 3-1, either way, 3 balls, 2 outs, and he throws a strike that gets called for a ball on the border at the knees. It definitely was fully in the K zone, though. It was a tough one to lose.
Oh, no, this was Detroit. This was Detroit on Monday.
This is Detroit.
On Monday.
This is the start before.
Okay.
And you saw the road broadcasters, because they knew him from Chicago, said this is usually where it unravels. Next pitch, next batter, home run.
Yep.
And you just see the mental, maniac that he becomes when things don't go his way, and he falls off the wagon completely when he's pitching.
Yep. Yeah, no, you see it. I heard that from the road broadcasters as well. It was fascinating. And it was the next pitch, a 3-run shot. He should have been out of the inning. And those things happen, though, and you're paid a certain amount. Your expectation is you're a 2-star. In this rotation, your expectation is that you are the 2-starter.
Yep.
That can't happen.
And I think it spoke volumes about where the organization was at with him when they did pay Fried what they paid him, being handed starter. You're now you signed Fried to be what you signed Rodon to be, and he just didn't end up becoming that guy.
Right.
So that was the vision, was Cole to Rodon. Now they had envisioned Cole to Fried. Obviously, Cole gets Tommy John, throws a wrench in that, but Rodon, I just can't do it anymore. I'm just so done with him as he struggles and has a terrible outing, and then his wife's on Twitter, and his body language is awful. It's the same thing, and I hate to even do this because these are humans. They're people. You meet these people, you start to work, and you meet these athletes, and they are just regular humans like we are. But I hate to criticize them and their families, but it's the way that they have embraced and handled New York and the entire contract and the whole tenure has been awfully handled.
Yeah.
That's the most part.
I can't disagree with you there. She is something on Twitter. So what does it look like now, Kevin? So you say, Cole to Fried to Rodon. So what is it? Is it Fried to Carrasco now? You think postseason series right now?
Don't even say that.
It'd be Fried to Cookie. You think? Come on.
It would have to be Fried to Schmidt.
No, I know. Right now,
it would have to be Fried to Schmidt. But right now, it's Fried to Schmidt to Carrasco. It's not even a joke. It's not even a joke. He's their third best pitcher.
Looked good the other night. Maybe it's a sign of the sign.
First start, he looked solid, and then his next two, he looked terrible, and then he bounced back last start. We'll get him again this weekend. Oh, and Will Warren, they're looking for something out of Will Warren too. But.
Granted, they didn't play the Royals, so again, one hitter in that lineup.
Hey, that's who we're playing in the ALCS if we want to get to the World Series. So good audition to get there.
What a joke. What a joke.
And now I know he's on the 15-day IL, but we haven't spoken about Stroman, I don't think, since he had his terrible 2 outs against the Giants, the first game of the series. He had 2 outs,
5 runs.
2 outs, 5 runs, and whatever happened after, he ends up on the 15-day IL.
That's your guy.
That's never been my guy. And it's just such a mess with Stroman, man.
I saw something and I texted you, like, is this true or not? I think it wasn't, because it wasn't blown up to what it would have been. But like him, like, storming out of the locker room saying, I'm a starter. Still after that outing, how does anybody in that clubhouse like him? You know, like we heard during the offseason that he's popular in that locker room, that the guys like him.
There's no way.
I can't see a world where that is true.
Do you see opponents' batting average against him this year?
I did not. What is it?
Like, what would we qualify as a bad opponent batting average? Not even horrible, but you know, when a guy hits a certain number of opponent batting average.
I don't even know. I guess 260, 270.
Yeah, I feel like it's like somewhere between 250 and 270.
Okay.
You're saying, all right, this guy really stinks. 300 is the batting average Stroman's allowing right now. He's got a whip over 2. Only guy with a higher whip on the Yankees is Devin Williams. Because I'm not counting Adam Ottavino's 1 inning pitched. But
that's crazy.
Stroman was a legitimate contender for a worse contract last week on the episode. And
he wasn't.
No, he was. It's such a short-term deal. It's only a 2-year deal. 3 years if he hits 150 innings this season, which he won't. But it's that bad. It's that bad of a small multi-year contract because it is $17 million this year.
Yeah, and we discussed it over the weekend, like how bad it is, because he was never going to have a season. When you gave him the 2-year contract, you gave him an opt-out or an opt-in. He was never going to have a season in 24 that would have taken him out of opting in. Like, he was never going to opt out of this contract.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest problem. That's the biggest problem with the contract.
And that's a total, fault on Cashman. You got to knock Cashman for it, because you could have found another Stroman for a year. You could have found another guy last year.
And he probably wanted to be here. So if you went to him with a mutual option, I don't know what his options were other than the Yankees, but he probably wanted to be here.
I don't think he had any. They signed him right around spring training time. I think training had already started.
He probably had options. He definitely had teams going after him, because he wasn't terrible in Chicago. He wasn't good, but he wasn't awful. I'm shocked he got $17 million, but I mean, Frankie Montas got $17 million, so whatever.
Yeah.
He probably had options.
Obviously, it wasn't at the time a good path. This is Monday morning quarterback, but you could have re-signed Luis Severino, and I don't think he would have even ended up being as good as he was with the Mets or the pitcher he is with the A's, but he would have been a better option just because it would have been a 1-year deal.
Well, yeah, it would have only been for $10 million, a guy that you're familiar with. Yeah, 100%. And he wouldn't have been a cancer in the locker room.
Yep, and the fans like him. The players liked him, obviously. I think the players like Stroman for the most part, too. But we can move off Stroman. I hate him. The Yankees lineup, a lot of interesting slash lines in this Yankee lineup. Obviously, Judge, for so many reasons, is fascinating just because it's ridiculous.
It is insane.
Well, let me talk about Judge for a second. I mean, like this is last night, the way the ball, it was so windy and it was all blowing in. The way the ball was coming off of players' bats, you would have thought they were going 10 rows deep and they were shallow flies to center, because they were, the wind was so nasty. And Paul O'Neill said it a few times, and then Judge comes up and basically hits a pop-up. And you're like, that's not getting out. And it's in the back of the bullpen in deep right center field. This is the best right-handed hitter I think we will ever see, Mike.
It is. It's not crazy to say. The guy does things on a baseball field where you're just every day you have a chance to see something that has never been done before. He is that good of a player. He's an historically great player. He's somebody that even if the Yankees stunk, and he was playing this well, you'd still have to say, I have to go buy a ticket. I have to go watch this guy. I mean, that's how good he is.
He is. He's so special. And right now he's got a mere OPS of 1322. He's got an average 409, leads all the majors, 519 on base, 803 slug. It's just the most absurd start to a season that I've ever seen by a Yankee. And then you go down the list of guys. Jazz Chisholm with such a unique stat line, 6 home runs, 11 RBIs, 176 average, 273 on base, and a 470 slug. He's got a 744 OPS, and he's second in the league in home runs or third in the league in home runs.
He's like 4 for 45 since he went on Twitter after the torpedo bat thing and like started calling fans out and stuff like that. It's remarkable what he's been able to do. Such a weird slash line, batting 176. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Like if he's having a good season or not. His WAR is 1. He's played a good second base. I can't tell you whether or not he's had a good year. And how about Volpe, who's cooled down a little bit too? He's hitting under 220 now. So Volpe has certainly cooled down, although the OPS is in a fine place.
Yeah, the OPS, if it stays around 780, 790 the whole year, I'll be thrilled.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest gripe with this team that, obviously there's pitching problems that are more significant, but my personal bother with this team is they have so many athletes now. Chisholm, Dominguez, Volpe, Wells is athletic. Is he stealing bases? No, he's athletic. Rice is a better athlete than you've had in DH in the past, obviously. Judge is such a good athlete for what he does. Bellinger, too. Bellinger's a great athlete. They marketed this team in the offseason as more athletic, better defensively, and I got excited about them stealing bases. They didn't steal any bases last year because they didn't have the athletes. Gleyber Torres, Juan Soto. They've obviously made significant adjustments on the base paths in terms of potential.
Right.
These guys don't get on base. Chisholm doesn't get on base. Volpe doesn't get on base enough. And when they do, they don't steal. Boone does not steal these guys. And I think it's because they're so afraid of losing the 2-run, 3-run home run threat when a guy gets thrown out.
Well, I mean, if they're hitting in front of Judge, then you do not want them going, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. It's a very new age way of thinking with the stolen bases. I think if you get on with the new rules, you got to go. You got to get the guy in scoring position. I mean, come on. So I do think, yes, things will even out. They'll get on base more. I don't think Volpe is going to have a close to 500 slug and on base closer to 300. I think those things will even out. He'll get on base. He'll start stealing more. And you need Chisholm to be better than what he's doing right now. Like, yes, the homers are nice, but he has to become more of a consistent player and getting on base more.
I also am becoming encouraged by Dominguez. Gives you really good at-bats. Had the big double down the line the other day from the right side. By the way, managers over managing just pisses me off so much. Michael Wacha was cruising the other night against the Yankees. He's got 72 pitches or 73 pitches, men on first and second, 1 out. Austin Wells coming up. We've spoken about it on this show. Austin Wells, righty-lefty splits. Huge discrepancy. So they go lefty-lefty against him.
Yeah.
Forget who they even put in. Angel was his first name. Angel, he pitched in the playoffs last year too. Left-hander for Kansas City. 4-pitch walks Austin Wells. Dominguez comes up. Double down the line. Meanwhile, Michael Wacha's just got to be pissed because he owns the Yankees. And he didn't even get a chance to finish that inning out, that 6th inning. So that was bad over managing.
Granted, you want to turn Dominguez around, but yes.
You do. Totally.
So it is for 2 batters there. You're bringing in a lefty for 2 guys there.
You are.
He kills you, but he hurts you. He hurts you there.
And the 4-pitch walk was obviously the death sentence for that. You bring in a guy and he immediately 4-pitch walks. But I need to see more from Austin Wells. He's catching. I get it. Catchers don't hit very well. 182 average, 676 OPS. It's getting on base 250. It's not good, man. It's not. The start he got off to, the spring he had, the expectations were much higher. I mean, the first game, he hits the home run. It's like, this is going to be a big year from Wells. I mean, I remember guys taking victory laps on Wells saying, oh, he was going to have a big year after the first weekend of the season. So it's got to be better, and it will be better. How about Bellinger? Any concern with him? Great catch to finish the game last night. I think he tripped more than dove, but great catch anyways.
Nice
Great play. Fun ending. Fernando Cruz gets the 6-out save.
Yeah.
And Bellinger at the plate, 538 OPS.
The one problem, I think, the reason why I would be slightly concerned is this isn't the first time we've seen Bellinger struggle in his career. You know, it's not a really great player getting off to a slow start. It's a guy that we have seen have really down years in the past getting off to a slow start. So I think he'll hit. I had expectations for him coming into the year. I wouldn't be too concerned yet, but it would be in the back of my mind that he's had years where he was irrelevant.
Yeah, that is my exact feeling. I think it's going to get going, but if he doesn't, I'm not going to be incredibly shocked, and then he's going to opt into his contract next year, and we're going to be stuck with him for a second year the same way we are with Stroman, but we'll worry about that at the end of the season. Last thing for me on the Yankees, Ben Rice. I do want to talk bullpen in a second, but Ben Rice, over 1,000 OPS. This problem that we've alluded to, that people have mentioned, that's going to come up in a few weeks when Stanton returns.
Yeah.
Goldschmidt, Rice, Stanton, how do you break that down in the lineup? Right now, Goldschmidt and Rice are two of your best hitters.
They got to play.
They have to play.
If they are, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, does Ben Rice play third base?
Wow. Does he have any experience at third base?
I don't believe so.
Oh, he better get a glove and start getting out there.
I know.
You got to play your hot hands. I mean, if Stanton comes back, you're going to get Stanton at bats, obviously. But if Stanton doesn't automatically hit, like, I understand the contract's large and he's a big name and he's this and he's that. But if Rice is hitting the way he is and Goldschmidt's average is over 300, you don't really have a choice. You don't have a choice here.
Even besides Stanton's contract, you look at the lineup and the bottom of the group is, players like Austin Wells, who obviously has to play. Now, that's the other path they can go with if you want to get really creative. Third base is the obvious one because it's their biggest hole because all their third basemen stink.
Right.
But Rice was a catcher. They moved him to first base. If Wells isn't hitting, could that be? I don't think they would ever take Wells out of the lineup, but could Rice catch Stanton DH and Wells is not an everyday player?
Right. But it almost feels like you're losing something there. Like you're losing something, and because there was expectation,
and without having seen Rice play, I'd imagine Wells is a much better defensive catcher too.
I don't think that could be an option. I just don't see how
that
could be an option.
But they're in a tough spot with that. It's a good problem to have.
It's a good problem.
Stanton is still a guy because even last year, I mean, we've spoken about his stats. I'll pull it up one more time. Even last year, though, with a low OPS, he was below 800 OPS. He was one of the most productive home run hitters in the league. And he only played probably the same amount of games he'll end up playing this year, which was like 110 games. Yeah, but he had an OPS last year of 773, which is good. We'll take it. 27 home runs, 72 RBIs. You need that bat in your lineup.
Yeah, but what if Rice's OPS is 850 and Goldschmidt's still hitting 300 and playing solid defense and his OPS is just under 800? That's being realistic with those numbers.
Yeah, and then I want those guys in more. The most frustrating part, Stanton has no option in the field. Like, there's no potential spot for him in the field. And he is, I know that Yankee fans aren't agreeing with me yet. He's the odd man out, I think.
Well, the other problem with throwing, if you're going to try, which I've never heard of even being an option, if you were to try Rice at third, like, it's too important of a position, especially with the guys you have, like Fried, who's a big ground ball pitcher. I mean, you can never have Rice in there on a day where Fried's pitching.
Yeah, like Rice is probably a guy that if the Yankees were winning a game 11-3 in the 7th, I'd start putting at third base. And see if he can grab a couple ground balls there. Like, let's see how he looks in the game. Because you can't send him down to AAA to start playing it.
No, of course not.
Guy's got an OPS over 1,000. I mean, you can't go send him down. But
how long does this go on for? Because I still view this as a honeymoon type thing. He's on my fantasy team too.
I think Rice can hit. I think he can hit.
You think he's legit?
I think he's a legit hitter because last year, and I don't buy into this that much, the baseball savant stuff. You've seen me use it on a couple of our recent shorts and videos, but I don't buy into analytics that much. I think you're more analytics confident than I am, and I don't think you are even
I'm not
overblown with it at all.
Yeah.
He was one of those unlucky guys last year. So while I'm just saying he's not getting results, I don't really care about it. He was an unlucky player, and his at-bats are so good when you watch him. The at-bats he gets out in. He went 0 for 4 2 days ago against Kansas City. He hit 3 balls to the right side of the infield that were easily 100 miles an hour plus right off the bat, just ripped. And those are his outs. So you see the at-bats and what you're watching is matching the analytics. It's not some BS, I think. So I really think he can hit.
You're locked in. You're
locked
completely locked in.
I think the numbers you gave, like mid 800 OPS, maybe even 790, 810 OPS, that's the range he'll end up at. But that's a bat that plays.
Right. That's a bat that has to be in the lineup almost every day for 130, 140 games. If he's healthy, that's how many times he has to be in. No, I don't disagree with you.
I mean, I have friends saying trade him for Arenado right now. I don't want to do that.
No, why would you do that?
That's terrible.
He's 26 years old. Why would you do that?
You wouldn't. Just stupid Yankee fans.
They need a third baseman, though. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. They need a third baseman.
They do. Could he be a terrible solution for it defensively this year, and then you move him? Goldschmidt, I don't think is going to be on the team next year, no matter what he does. It just feels like a 1-year deal, a true 1 year, and maybe Rice just becomes your first baseman of the future, and you go hunt for a third baseman next year. That's a nice solution to have for next season. But for this year, could he just be a terrible third baseman, but get you there the way that you kind of, I mean, Chisholm was definitely better defensively than I envisioned Rice being, but the way that happened last season where you're just biting the bullet with a third baseman out of position, could he fill the role like that? I don't think he can.
I don't think he can either. I don't think he's that. I don't think he's athletic enough to do it.
And you're right, too, with the amount of, not just Fried, the amount of guys they have. I mean, Devin Williams is going to, hitters put a lot of balls in play against Williams. Weaver is their only real strikeout guy on either end, besides Rodon, who stinks. And, I mean, third base is a premium position for the Yankees.
Need it. Can't have Rice there.
Can't have Rice there. All right, anything else today?
I'm good here. I'm good. You know, interesting weekend for both teams. The Yankees are home in Florida. The Mets are home at City, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, Yankees head to Steinbrenner Field for the first time this week, so I'm excited to watch that. That starts tonight. They have, I think, Warren, Rodon, and Carrasco going, so it should be a really fun weekend.
Is that pitching. 80% Yankee fans there in that stadium?
I think it's higher.
You think it's all Yankee fans tonight?
I think if you watch it, you're going to have trouble picking out Rays fans.
Okay.
Because I have a feeling that how many seats are in that place?
I knew the number. And I don't remember it anymore.
Yeah, I did too. And I'm looking right now. 10,000 seats. I have a feeling that the second that we found out about it, every Yankee fan went and bought their ticket to the series.
You found out about it too during spring or before spring training, but you probably buy the tickets when you were there for the Yankee games in spring training. Yeah, that's a good point.
I think it's just going to be because right now they're not even. If you watch their games now, I mean, they're selling the place out, but they're not particularly sold out with Rays fans. Like they have, it's not even that the other teams are selling out or filling it up. They just have a lot of baseball fans there, it seems.
Yeah.
So it's not like Rays fans are going out of their way right now in the regular series to pack the house. I think that the Yankees, like if the Yankees hit a home run, the crowd will pop.
It's the Yankees home game. It's the Yankees home game down south.
And Boone even said it. Boone did not shy away from it preseason because someone said, how does Bellinger's swing play into Yankee Stadium? And he's like, it plays in great, and it's awesome because we have, I think it's 8 extra home games this year. They play 8 times in Tampa. And he was like, we have 8 extra home games. Fans and dimensions, we're going to have 8 more home games this year.
Are they in their locker room from spring training, or does Tampa take that over? I need to know that question.
No, Tampa's in the locker room for sure.
Okay, Tampa's in the home locker room that they would
Tampa's
have in
in the
spring
home.
training.
That's
and now the
probably
Yankees are
going
in the
to
road.
be weird for the
That'll be
Yankees.
weird. Yeah.
Is they're going to be in like because typically road locker rooms are pretty crappy.
And
so
that's
they're going to be, it's like a high school locker room.
Did you see in Sacramento where, like, if you wanted to take BP, you had to walk across the field, and then you walk off the field, like they could leave to go to the clubhouse. You got to walk.
In game one for
it was Marte.
Sacramento.
Marte was sprinting back and forth, or Wicker, one of the two. It's sprinting back and forth.
You got to run all the way to the outfield. What a mess, man! And they're not even getting fans there. At least Tampa, they're selling the place out every game.
Yeah, and that's 3 more years of that in Sacramento.
Yeah. But I don't know what they're going to do in Tampa either because they're not fixing the Trop.
They are fixing the Trop now.
Oh, they are now? Okay. Because originally it was they're not fixing the Trop, but they're also not getting the new stadium.
They should move one of these teams out of there. Like, Florida is just – nobody goes to these games. Nobody goes.
And I hate the let's move them to Montreal.
No.
That didn't work.
That's not going to work either. Got to go to the Carolinas or what was another one? Salt Lake City, I know, wants a team. One of those spots.
And Salt Lake City's got the funding for it. They did a great job with the hockey team this year. They do a great job with the Utah Jazz. They want these sports teams, and they sell the place out. The people love pro sports there. So they
gonna do.
That's what Vegas is going to be a dud too for baseball, I think.
Could it be any worse than Oakland though?
No, it can't be. But it can't. But the league can't afford it to be nearly as bad, and the organization can't because I think about. The Raiders don't even get fans at their games. Like they get a crowd, but they don't get Raiders fans. So, but think about this: the hockey team is starting to get less and less every year. But the football, it works because it's one game a week. If the Jets are playing the Raiders, I want to go to Vegas anyways. I could plan a weekend.
Yep,
and
that's what most people do. That's what a lot of people do.
I'm not planning a weekend to see the Yankees play in Vegas or to see. And the Yankees are probably one of the only teams. Yankees, Mets, New Yorkers are probably the only fans that'll actually do that, where it might work for that weekend. But are Cardinals fans planning a trip to Vegas to go see their team, or Brewers fans? There's 26 teams in the league that have fan bases that aren't crazy enough to even think about that.
Right. I actually met a Cardinals fan in Vegas when I was there 2 weeks ago. That's funny that you mentioned that. I don't know. I think. Again, when you had such a terrible situation, I don't see how it's worse than what it was.
No, but I think that they could have thrived somewhere else. Like, I think they're going to have a very average experience there as a franchise, and I think they could have thrived in Salt Lake City, or as you mentioned, like the Carolinas. But for Oakland, it would have made sense to go to Salt Lake City.
But if the team, regardless, don't even bring up the team's good. If the stadium's nice and there's a nice surrounding area, I mean, it is right off the strip. I mean, I was in a cab and the driver was like, this is where the stadium's going to be, down this way. It's going to be right off the strip. I mean, if it's nice and if there's things to do, people will go.
Yeah, they're going to have to do a lot to make it work. All right, that's a wrap. I'm not going. I'm not confident in it. I will never be there, but good luck. I love the I love the uniforms, so good luck. That's a wrap. Tyler Soderstrom, best player in baseball. Future is in Vegas for Major League Baseball, and we're pumped about it. Yankees rule, Mets rule. We'll see you next week. Best two teams in the league, and we appreciate you sticking.